All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I'm creating a video right now that I'm going to basically probably call Watch Me First, and it's going to be kind of interesting in that I want to explain to you what I'm doing in here, all right, or at least try to do so. All right, so what I have for the people in the class as a means of Java review is I found this book online, which is Gaddis's Starting Out with Java from Control Structures Through Objects, 6th edition. Now, all it has is the pages in there. In other words, none of the exercises are in there, etc. You know, the end of chapter exercises, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So you'll see as we go through this, when we get to the end of a chapter, that's it. Okay? All right, so why am I telling you this? Well, the reason I'm telling you this is I thought that I had a copy of the exercises that went along with that book, but I can't find them. So, I also found, and I'll leave this up there for a minute, this right here, and let me bring these both up. This is the, not that, still not that. All right, I thought I kept it and I didn't. I believe this is the address for my YouTube channel. All right, it's also up on, showing on the screen right now. Bigger than that, but I have no idea what all this polymer equal true stuff is, etc. Don't know. All right, I think probably if we just put this in, it might come up as well. Let's check. Looks like that's it. All right, so I'm going to grab that. I should be able to make that a bit bigger. There we go. So, the reason I'm showing you all this is not to waste my time and not to waste your time. Right now, there are 24 videos on here. I'm going to start making more and more momentarily. But what I have done is I've got all of the PowerPoints, all right, that went along with this book. As you can see, Chapter 1, there's two things on Chapter 2, Chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That's the good news. The bad news is it's from edition 5 of the book, which is a little bit different than edition 6, which is what we have. But I'm not going to go back and replicate and remake these. All right? The other thing that's in here, so that's 17 of the chapter, or of the presentations that are in here. The rest are those intros that I did at the end of last semester. All right? When we went through, and we went through some of the stuff, kind of an intro to Java. All right? So what I'm going to do is Chapter 1 of the book was an introduction to computers and Java. You know, why do we program? What's hardware? What's software? What's a program? And then they finally get into, on about page 45, this is Java. All right. And then they talk about running Java, what you have to do, etc. And basically, that's the whole chapter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and using this article that I showed you in class, that's called Creating, Running, and Packaging Your First Java Application, I'm going to create a brand new project in Intellij. This will be very much duplicative of what we've already done in class, because the first few chapters I'm going to keep working with that simple payroll project that we were working with. But I'm going to take it nice and slow. All right, so I'm going to start up Intellij. If you don't have Intellij IDEA, you can just go to Intellij IDEA download And you want to make sure that when you do that, you want to make sure that you choose the Community Edition because it's free. All right. There is a 1-month trial that you can use if you want to on the Ultimate Edition, but I'm not going to use that at all. All right, so there we go. You'll notice I don't have the database tools. There's a few things I don't have in here, but that's life. All right, I've already got it downloaded, so I'm just going to bring it up. And again, it is just under if you just go out to jetbrains.com/idea/download. All right, so enough of that. Let's start it up. All right, so I'm starting it up right here. Not sure how crisp this is going to go because I'm literally going to be doing it off the top of my head. So if I make any mistakes, as I usually do, please bear with me. Now, there are some projects that are in here, but I don't care. I'm going to go in, create a new project. Hopefully I'm going to do this right. All right. Over here, we want to select Java. All right. We don't want any Kotlin stuff in here, so we should be able to just go to Next. We don't want to create a project from a template, so we again should be able to go in there and do Next. The project name, well, let's see. The location, we're going to put it on the desktop. Let's call this Payroll number 1. All right, and I'm going to click Finish. Now, let's see if indeed it made a folder for me called Payroll number 1, which of course I don't see. There's Payroll number 1.iml, and that is not what I wanted. There is an idea, and there is a source, so I didn't want that. Well, let's just go on. All right, so I'm going to go here. I don't like the way any of this looks, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to close the project. All right, now I'm going to remove all of this that I just created. And I'm going to come in here, new folder. I'm going to call this payroll. And inside of here, I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call it payroll number 1. Number 01. There we go. So there's the path to it. All right, create a new project. I want it to be a Java project. Next. I don't want to create it from a template. Next. The project name, the location will be there, and the project name will be payroll, and it's under there. So there's the location, and the project name. We'll keep it the same as the location name. Let's try calling it payroll 01. All right, and click Finish. All right, now what I want to see is if inside of this payroll and this payroll number 1, now I have this stuff. That's what I wanted. All right, so I'm in here. I'm in my source that's right there. I'm going to right mouse click on the source folder, new, Java class, and it asks me for a name. Something tells me I'm skipping a step here, so hold on one sec. I think I should be able to, let's try it. edu.rankin.jpscott.payroll. All right. Well, that was almost all correct. Okay, so I am going to remove this. I'm just going to delete what I just created, and I'm going to try to create it again, so I'm going to delete this too. All right, so right mouse click, new. And I'm going to put in here edu.rankin.jpscott.payroll with a big P. And I'm going to click OK. All right, that's what I wanted, was payroll with a big P. All right. So I've now got my package statement. We'll talk more about this as we go on in class. But I've got my beginning payroll. So this is just going to be a very, very simple payroll program with hard-coded values. Because, again, this is meant to be kind of symbolic of what's the material that's in Chapter 1. All right, so I'm going to have in here string, first name equals Jeff, string last name equals Scott, double hours worked equal 40. Try to pretty things up here just a tad. We'll put 40.0, even though we don't have to. Double hourly rate equal 25.0. And double gross pay, we'll just set that immediately equal to hours worked times hourly rate. All right. System.out.println, first name should be a big S. Why isn't it understanding that? Oof. Well, let me put all of it in. So let's see. Remove unnecessary semicolon. Well, that isn't true. That's not an unnecessary semicolon. Whew. Unknown class, first name. String, first name. know what the problem is. Okay, let me grab all this. Control X. Now I need to put in, and there's a shortcut for this, so I can type in PSV, I believe it is, tab. There we go. I want to put all that stuff inside of main. Now it's looking okay. All right. Sorry about that. First day back from break. All right. So first name, last name, hours worked, hourly rate. Now we're not going to worry about prettying this up, and what I mean here is I'm not worried about the dollar signs. I'm not worried about how many parentheses or how many decimal places. I don't care about any of that stuff right now. But I will add for this, for the gross pay, I will add a dollar sign. Manually add it, which you typically wouldn't do. And we'll talk about how you get around that in a later class. All right. So, employee first name, employee last name, employee hours worked, employee hourly rate, and employee gross pay. All right. So I believe I've got everything in there that I could possibly want. Move comment to a separate line. No, that's fine. Just leave it the way it is. So I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to do a run, and tell it to run. And I want it to run payroll. So there it is. It's cleaning it. It's doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. There it is. So first name Jeff, last name Scott, hours worked 40, hourly rate 25, gross pay 0. Since I use system.out.println, I really don't need any of these plus backslash n's for a new line. It's kind of cluttering it up, for lack of better words, right now. So let's do another file, save all, and do another run of payroll. And you'll see it'll look just like it did before, except now it's a little prettier because everything is more lined up. Now I could have used backslash t's in there to try to really line stuff up well. I don't care right now. That's fine. All right. So let's break this down and look at each line that's in here. The first line that you see in here is what's called a package statement. When you create a package, for lack of better words, is like a folder. It's sort of like a root folder that's going to hold everything. All right? So typically when you create a package, you use reverse domain notation. So instead of me saying jpscott@rankin.edu, it's edu.rankin.jpscott. All right? This is what's called a class header. It's saying that my class is public, which means that not only can I use it, but conceivably so can other people. All right? It's public, meaning it's in the public domain. It is a class, and its name is payroll. Now, the name that I save this here has to be the exact same name that you see up here, including the caseness. All right? Java is another block structured language, so everything goes within curly braces. And at least for the first few examples that we're going to look at here, we'll have just one method inside of here. That method is called main. This is a class header. This is a method header. All right, and it says that main is public. It is static, which means that we don't need to create a class to be able to use this. And there's only one main. It's called main. It does not return anything. And if I wanted to pass something in, I pass it in as an array of strings with each argument in there called args. So if I passed in 3 things into main, it would be args 0, args 1, and args 2. Again, block structured language, so there's our beginning and ending curly braces. Single line comments, // Here, I am both declare and initialize program variables, and I'm hard coding them in. So every time I run this program, the first name will be Jeff, the last name will be Scott, the hours worked will be 40, the hourly rate will be 25, and since gross pay is hours worked times hourly rate, 40 times 25, gross pay will always be 1,000. So here, right there, that is the variable declaration. That is the variable initialization. Declaration, initialization. Declaration, initialization. Declaration, initialization. Declaration, initialization. You'll notice that unlike JavaScript, with Java, every executable line of code must end in a semicolon. You must put it in there, unlike JavaScript where it's optional. All right? Here, just print out everything. Now, if I wanted to put this over 2 lines, I could have done that. /*. Notice, then I could say print out everything. All right? Using system.out.println. All right? System is something that's naturally available to you. It's the system. Out means that we're going to use the default out mechanism, which is our screen, and we're going to print on the screen the string first name, followed by a space, followed by the value of first name, which was Jeff. Then do the same thing with last name, which was Scott. Then hours worked, which was 40, hourly rate, which was 25, and gross pay, which was 40 times 25, or 1,000. Now that was very quick, very simple, not very much in there. All right? But it pretty much is symbolic of what was in Chapter 1 of the book. So in Chapter 2, we talk about, well, I've already talked a little bit about print and print line. The difference between print and print line, print, you stay on the same line. Print line, it pushes you to a new line. All right. Here they go in and they do explain everything that's in there. So it's pretty much what I just did. And again, you already have these, the associated PowerPoints. I'm running a console program right now, not doing a whole heck of a lot. I mentioned the \n. \n and \t are the ones you're going to use 99.9% of the time. right. I've shown you variables. Now they've got int, which we haven't discussed yet, but we will. In fact, let's do that. Let's go back to our program and let's add an int variable. Now, I'm going to add something I typically wouldn't add. And what I mean by that is I'm going to come in here and say int, and I'm going to put in here emp number equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to say here employee number. All right, and I'll add one more line here. Emp number. And you'll notice that after I do all that and do one more file, save all, and another run payroll, and I come back here and run it, the only difference is I now have the employee number in here also. Now, the reason I said this wasn't really a great idea is these are all numeric variables. And numeric variables should hold numbers. Yeah, they must hold numbers, but they should be numbers that could conceivably be used in a calculation. This would have been better off as being a string, but I just wanted to show you what an int would look like. That's all. All right, I've shown you the concatenation operator using the plus sign. You saw that already right here. Okay. What I created for you, what are the variables, are what are known as identifiers. Identifiers must follow these rules. They can contain only letters, digits, underscores, or the $sign. The first character has to be either a letter, an underscore, or a $sign. I recommend do not use $signs, do not use underscores. All right, use letters and digits only, and if possible, use only letters. This is a case-sensitive language. Cannot include spaces. Here are the Java keywords. Now we're going to go through many of these in the next month, but not all of them. Variable name should be descriptive. Java program should be self-documenting. You could even make a case here and say, I probably didn't even need these comments right here. All right. Now, I'm using this naming convention where variable names are beginning with a lowercase letter, and then everything you run together becomes uppercase with the first letter and lowercase for everything else. Class names, we want them to be title case, so have them start with a capital letter and every one that you run together. Okay? These are the 8 primitive Java data types. I've already shown you int. I have shown you double. All right. And I'm not going to show you byte right now, which is just a small int. It's an int that has a size of, I think it's 0 to 255. Short, I believe, is negative 32,768 to positive 32,767 or something like that. And int is negative 4 billion plus to positive 4 billion plus. A long is just too big a number to even mention. Float and doubles are both things that can contain decimal places. Double has more accuracy. Boolean is true and false, and char is a single character. So let's look at the Boolean and the char, so at least we've hit on some of those. All right. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to change this to char, and I'm going to say here MI for middle initial. And we're going to put in here P. And we'll put in here Jeffrey. Okay. Be a little formal here. First name, last name. In fact, I really probably should take this, put right there. And so this will say middle initial. And let's also change this, and we'll make that a Boolean. And this will say is union, and we'll set that equal to false. All right, and this will be employee union status. We don't have a union here at Rankin, and that's why I set it false. So first name, middle initial, and I think we call that MI, last name, and then we'll put here union status, which we call is union. Okay, so you have now seen string, which is not a data type, it's a class type, but out of our primitive data types, you've seen char, Boolean, int, and double. So I've shown you half of them. All right, now if I did want to put another one in here, just so we can put it in, employee number, let's see, how about before the union status, we'll put in here byte age equals 61. Employee age. All right. All right. So you have now seen char, byte, Boolean, int, and double. And those are 5 of the 8 primitive types. And you'll notice this is what our program said before we added all that stuff. Bring that down here. All right, now you'll notice that when we run it, we do a save all and then we run it again. It's going to look different. First name Jeffrey, middle init P, last name Scott, current age 61, union status, etc. All right? So I'm really trying to be as thorough as I can here in going through this stuff. There's the different ranges. I guess byte is negative. I was right on the short. The int was negative 2 billion, not negative 4 billion. The long, I don't know how to read this. The float has 7 digits of accuracy. The double has 15, so it's twice as accurate. Variable declarations, we already talked about. Talked a little bit about ints, floating points. If you use an F, a floating point, so if you say that something is float, you have to put an F there, either an uppercase or a lowercase f. That's why most people don't use that. I showed you Boolean, I showed you char. We're using, in Java, we're using the Unicode Character Set. It says that the Unicode Character Set can consist of 65,536 individual characters. I believe that has been upped over the years to over 100,000 different characters. Okay. When you create a variable, you can initialize it at the same time. I think we talked about that a little bit already. So we can do this. You must declare a variable before you use the variable. Typically, though, if we knew this right away, we'd say int month equal 2, int days equal 28. I don't like when people do this and put multiple declarations on the same line. All right? I don't like it like that. I'd like int month equal 2, semicolon, int days equal 28. It just is a better way of doing it. All right? Java has 5 different arithmetic operators. The one that I showed you in the program we just did was multiplication. We used a plus sign, but that plus sign was not used for addition. That plus sign rather was used for concatenation. So that is what's called an overloaded operator. Subtraction, multiplication, these work the way you think they would. We've already looked at modulus in other classes. So, all right. Integer division can be tricky. 1 divided by 2 actually gives you 0 because it says you're dividing an integer by an integer, so throw away any remainder. The precedence, you always do multiplication, division, and modulo before you do addition and subtraction. You can always override that with parentheses, and that minus sign just means you're making something negative. So parentheses can always be used to override. We also have something in here that are called combined operators, which you have seen in other classes. Plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divide equals, etc. So A divide equal B is the same as A equals A divided by B, etc. All right, so I'm going to leave that up there for just a second. You can kind of drink that in or whatever you want to call it. All right, I didn't create any constants. We will do that in the next program. When you create constants, they're variables whose value cannot change after they're created. When you create constants, you use the word final in this language. That's a key word. I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to slam them all together. So mine would say Cal sales tax without these underscores. We talked a little bit about strings. String is a class. It's not a data type. As it says, Java has no primitive data type that holds a series of characters. All right, primitive versus reference we'll get to in other later classes. We're going to talk about a whole chapter on strings. All right, comments I already mentioned. I didn't show you the Java doc yet, but I will. All right, and I must be really getting up there in time. Yeah, I'm up at 37 minutes. Let's go back and let's rewrite this program twice. We'll use the scanner statement, all right, and we'll use the J option pane statement. So we'll get this. And I think that'll pretty much, get us through this chapter, all right? So I'll come back. This was the program that I wrote for Chapter 1, but I will come back and use the scanner class, all right, and I'll write that and get it to work, and then once I get done, I'll write it again using the J option pane class. So I'll be back with that in just a couple moments.